I think we're ready to go. Big
We are.
smiles. Oh, born ready. Born ready to go. So we'll go 3 and 2 and 1. Pew, ready to go. Oh, and welcome everyone to episode 2 of the ACCA Global Podcast. And I'm delighted to be welcoming today our superstar with his lovely Sony or whatever technology-based headphones they are, as we run on a zero budget on here. That yes, he's all ready to record his #1 single from the US. We have Dave Ramnarine with me today. Dave, welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is such fun on a Sunday.
I know. I thought you weren't going to say anything then, but we're all good. We're all here, everyone, and on a Sunday as well. It's lovely, isn't it? Where are you based at the moment, so the viewers know?
Miami, Florida, the Sunshine State.
And we've lost half the audience already. They're going, oh no, oh no. Well, this is the Global ACCA podcast. So would you like to introduce to the viewers where you're originally from and who you are representing today?
Sure. So I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago, which is, Twin Islands, the southernmost Caribbean islands. And I grew up there, and I've been living in the United States for the last 8 years. And, today I am excited to be a part of this conversation so that I could share more about myself and engage with, a ACCA global audience.
Oh, it would just internationally recognize it. We're going to take over the world. I've said on episode 1, Netflix are going to be coming for us. This is it. This is it. But it's the
look out, world.
well, in terms of going back onto music, this is the difficult second album. This is the second episode. The bar was set, but I mean, I'm delighted to have you on today, and it is an absolute pleasure, should I say? But oh, you've jumped the gun. You've jumped the gun.
Oh my God.
You can. Everyone watching now, well, whoever watched the first episode will know that we run on a strict schedule on this official podcast. And Dave, everyone, has jumped the gun because it's the rule of the guest to introduce to our viewers, wherever they may be around the world, what was the drink that you selected?
Well, the drink I selected is a favorite of mine. It's a sparkling rosé. And, I like my sparkling rosé when I travel, when I'm at home, when I'm cooking. I, pour me a glass and enjoy it.
Well, I unfortunately didn't have any rosé in, but it's lovely white wine here, which for any chap listening will go, yeah, about the same.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, cheers.
Cheers and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Gosh,
I mean,
lovely.
I do really love this wine, hence the reason I kind of jumped the gun. It was just so subconscious for me to, my wine is sitting there. It's saying, drink me, drink me, drink me.
Well, you're now alluding to the reason for the ACCA Global Podcast is so that people who connect with us on LinkedIn, they get to know more about us as well, so that who knows in the future, someone might see you at an ACCA event and go, that's Dave over there. Likes his rosé. That's it.
Yep, let's get him a glass.
Yes. But that is just to stipulate the actual reason for the podcast as well, so that viewers can actually get to know myself, James, as the official host, and my lovely guest. And as well, we've got to clear this up because I got this incorrect when we first met.
Right.
I called you Dev.
Right.
Got it wrong. That is not a good start when you meet someone, everyone. If there's one tip to get from today, make sure you get the person's name right. And also, we're going to get the second name right on record so that anyone who's listening, who connects with you around the world, we are going on Ramnarine as well.
Exactly. And you said it perfectly.
Oh, you see. Oh, well, straight up. That's it. That's all that I need. But I've now jumped the gun. Introduced to everyone watching or listening on Spotify. How do you know me? How have we met?
Well, we met via LinkedIn. We've never met in person. And we connected on LinkedIn and just basically said hello. And I think, for me, connecting on LinkedIn, I always like to have an outcome in mind, and seeing that you were doing something passionately that I am passionate about, which is tutoring and lecturing and helping students and, really pass the exams and whatnot. When I connected, I think that's what sort of sparked the interest in connection. And I think thereafter we were like, oh, we should have a chat. And what I really appreciate was the follow through in sort of creating that conversation. So we've spoken numerous times since we've linked up on LinkedIn, and here we are today on this podcast.
It's just going from strength to strength. It's taking over the world, one podcast and one conversation at a time.
Yep.
It was an inviting hello. It was a hello, Dave. Hello.
Yes. And here we are.
Yes, well, I think that's the first really good point. I would also say from my side, whoever connects with me on LinkedIn or says, oh, James does lots of ACCA videos, and you get people who connect but then actually don't try to interact with you or to say,
Right.
how can we benefit each other's actual network, or what areas you're interested in. So that would be another massive tip for anyone listening in or watching it on YouTube right now. Make sure when you're connecting with someone, try to take a step back and actually say, what is the reason for this? Why am I actually connecting with them? Rather than just going through and pressing, yep.
Yeah, because then that's such a good point, because then you just end up with so much noise on your social media. Because there's no, active purpose for which you've created a network. And for me, like you say, it's like, what's that end game in mind? Like, how can we support each other? How can we build each other up? And what I love is that I'm in the US and you're in another part of the world.
UK. Oh.
Right. And we've connected and we've had conversation. We've connected on mutual things that we're both, inspired by or committed to doing. Yeah. And like that's ACCA, the power of connection, right?
First good plug there. That's all right. Another good plug as well for anyone who is into, should we say, running or exercise, is we have both participated today in the ACCA Global Run as well.
Yes. And I would invite everyone that's listening in, join in. It's awesome. You get to see somebody's, exercise journey in another part of the world, see beautiful pictures of I typically take photos and like post it when I can. So yes, definitely join us on the ACCA Global Run.
100%. I mean, all of our social media links, LinkedIn links, I'll put them in the description below. So if you'd like to keep in contact with us and follow our running journey, where Dave's going to be running marathons in the future as well. He's already told me, everyone. Did I say that out loud? Oh.
Hey, you gotta speak it into existence by sharing with people who'd hold you accountable, right?
You are quite the chap to hold someone accountable, so it's okay. The demands of what your workload goes through. This nicely actually leads us into as to, well, the purpose of the podcast, as we said, is you connect with potentially us or anyone on LinkedIn, but it's a case of knowing past that, little bits about them to break that ice, right, and then to actually connect with them a bit better. So the second part of the podcast will nicely lead us in, I'm like James Corden now, woof, whoosh, look at that. Nicely going through is our rapid fire round. So you've got two options, and this is where the viewers will, wasn't expecting that answer, but this is where you can make some passing jokes on me, so it's all right. So you got two options on this. We're going to run through it. Give us your thoughts, okay? So first one, do you prefer to text or call?
Oh, definitely call. Definitely.
100%, honestly. But do you not find that people don't like calling each other now?
This is something I think people are sometimes afraid of actually getting in communication. I tell people text and email serves as good notification, and it's not like proper communication. Like if you want to really communicate and be heard and hear someone out, get on the phone, get on a Zoom call, get on a podcast.
You see, I know we could be advertising anything today. I mean, when this kicks off, we'll get you on again, and then we'll have sponsorship deals for headphones, and I'll get a sponsorship deal for a white T-shirt. Who knows where it will go? But yes, we'll see. We'll see on it. But no, completely agree. Texting and email should be designed for, well, if you want to really get to know someone, booking a call or something on those lines, and then. And when you're out and about and someone calls on their phone and they just shut it down. No, I don't want to take the call. That amazes me. That does.
Yeah, and I have a whole thing about that. Anyway, it's like I always tell my staff that work with me to always pay attention to how they interact with communication, because it's sometimes representative of something bigger. Like just like you're saying, like ending that call. It's like, oh, like what's running in the background that have you be uncomfortable and not wanting to take that conversation? And sometimes it's not practical, but most times we're like, oh, Dave's calling. Yeah, no, I don't want to talk to him. Or whatever that is, right? So,
well, I mean, people are listening going, oh, is it James calling again?
I know. What does he want now?
He's probably just going to tell us he's been out for another run again. But so
I was saying, probably saying, okay, did you actually read the full question before you answered it? Because you got the answer wrong.
What would James say? Well, this nicely leads on to, because you're based in Miami, this is the question I had to ask, because I fear the viewers, and that's a whole handful of probably a few by now, but it is a case of, do you prefer Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Well, when I used to drink soft drinks, it was always Coca-Cola.
Right. Oh gosh, that's all right. Now you see, I'm in the same boat as me. I don't particularly drink fizzy drinks unless it's just on offer or something on those lines. But
right.
But I would say I don't know. I quite like Pepsi. I don't know why.
Well, I growing up in Trinidad, and I grew up on a farm, and when you're out in the hot sun, there was just something at midday. You get like a beastly cold Coca-Cola, and it was awesome. Like it quenched the thirst. You were satisfied. You could go back to work. But like I've not had any kind of a soft drink like that in probably over 12 years.
Yeah. I've completely cut it out of my life in terms of it. It's apart from if I've finished a half marathon or something on those lines, and you just need some sugar in yourself. That's it. But that's interesting. Gosh, leading the way. But yes, you've moved on to wine now. That's it. So
yeah, I've refined the palate.
Indeed. I'm maturing like a fine wine. There you go. Brilliant. But again, we're going to go on to, this is something that anyone who's from the UK will resonate in this. Question 3. Do you prefer bagels or do you prefer toast?
Oh, toast any day.
Toast, right.
Toast any day. Like I could have toast for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner.
We get all these funky sandwich shops over here, and they're like, oh, do you want a bagel or something? I was like, I just want a sandwich or something, a toasty. Not difficult.
Yeah, and I like for me, toast is it's about the taste, but also texture. When you get that perfect toast, the crust is like really good, well done, and you get that crunch. So good.
But when you were a student, did you ever burn toast? Because that's
all the time.
It's easily done, isn't it? Yeah, but you still eat it anyway. You just you'll be all right.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, that was the last 2 slices of bread. There's no more, so I gotta eat it.
Yes, for all of our viewers who are students out there, yes, even qualified members burn toast.
Hey, we've all had a toast journey.
That's it. But hey, but now we've got to talk about if you're going to burn the calories off from that toast. So you're down by Miami. Wow, big question. Do you prefer swimming in the sea or do you prefer swimming in the pool?
Well, people in Miami are probably going to not like the answer I'm about to give here. I do love the pool.
Hmm.
The beaches are great, but you got to get, I grew up in the Caribbean. So I'm accustomed to beaches in the Caribbean. So
Right.
I'm not like wowed by like South Beach, for example. Like
Oh.
I've probably been to South Beach 5, 6 times since I've been
Hmm.
living here for 4 years.
Right.
Um, but you know, Key West, which is little islands all the way, it's like 3 hours driving. I love
Hmm.
the beach there. So if I'm in
Right.
Key West, definitely the beach.
Right.
But I think I have a different standard for for the beach.
Yes. And viewers will now be realizing, yes, they've not actually been through these questions, and James is putting Dave on the spot. Oh,
And it's all good.
yeah. When I worked out in America on my summer placement, I went down to Miami, and the only thing that was going through my head was the Will Smith song about Miami. I was saying, "Oh, we're here!" Yeah, so I know you can sing
Well,
along if you want.
well, yeah, it's like I think Miami is very iconic in that regard. And speaking of the beach, um, when you go to the beach, you see people from everywhere.
Mm,
Not so much obviously now because of COVID,
yeah.
but like it was a very, very international crowd year round.
Mm.
Even
Oh,
when it's hot and like, I mean, I'm from the Caribbean, but when it's hot, like I'm not going out in the sun. Mm-mm.
oh yeah. Well, when we were down there, I were on the beach and I'm just waiting in the sea, and yeah, I didn't realize you get the odd shark in there as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you have, the things that live in the ocean do what they do, and we're
indeed.
just there using it. So I look forward for when you come back to Miami, and then we'll hang out on the beach.
Wow, surfing it is.
That would
Surfing it
be that would
is.
probably be my seventh time on the beach, would be James visiting Miami, and we're like, okay, let's go hang out by the beach.
Yeah, we'll do a surfing like yeah. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, I can surf, and as we're all aware as being accountants, apparently we're quite boring and don't really do much. So it's
Well, that's not true well, it's true for most accountants, but not for all.
Dave, can we not scare off the listeners, please? Come on, you've got to behave as a guest on the podcast. This is very important. Well, this nicely leads on to the final question now, to bring the section two to a nice wrap, if you pardon the pun or the food pun, shall we say? But breakfast or dinner, which one do you prefer?
I could have breakfast for lunch, breakfast for dinner.
So breakfast or all round.
Breakfast, definitely.
We're both morning people, but it's a case. I do prefer dinner. It's something to look forward to at the end of the day. So it's a case of get everything done in the day and then just nice dinner.
Yeah, for me, like breakfast is so adventurous. Like dinner, it's typically a heavier meal.
Mm.
There's a lot more work going into the preparation.
Oh yeah.
Breakfast is quick and easy, and for me, and it could be so many different things.
Mm.
So for me, I just, I could do breakfast anytime.
Oh, there you go. Gosh, well, I think we've got curry tonight here, so it's all good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, homemade. It's all right.
Yeah, and funny thing is that I am about to cook some curry chicken and as well here for dinner.
Well, when we set up our own ACCA cooking program and we release our cooking books, it's these.
I'm down. If you're down for that, I'm down because for me, I love cooking. It's like art and science in the kitchen. And it's such an awesome, like artistic space for me every day.
Oh yeah, if you feel your body right as well, then no matter what you're doing, if you're marathon training or if you've got a long day at work, it can make a massive difference in terms of it.
Yes.
So, but people don't sometimes realize that they'll just grab a chocolate bar or something on those lines, or just have energy drinks, and they think, oh, I'm going to power through the day, just more energy drink.
Yeah, no, I guess during this pandemic, I've been discovering and rediscovering food in a different way.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want to put together the accountant's cookbook,
Oh,
let's do it.
oh, there we go. You see, it's on record now. Gosh. Wow. Well, that was super. I mean, in terms of anyone listening, they'll be going, oh, well, if I want to get hold of Dave or anything on those lines, anything to do with breakfast, just send you a photo of what you're having for breakfast. That'd be brilliant.
Hey, if you look at my Instagram, you'd probably see food more than anything else.
There you go. You could start rating people's breakfast. That's it.
I know, right?
Brilliant. Well, now we've got to come on to more serious stuff now, Dave. So this is really important because the whole point of the podcast is to find out, yes, more about you personally, but then also where you're coming from a work perspective as well. So that, yes, you can read those boxes on LinkedIn and stuff, but talk us through where you currently work, and then also any other bits on the side that you do as well.
Sure. So currently, I am a partner with a small firm here in Miami, where I run the assurance and audit practice. And I know immediately people's question is, they're always like, oh, but you don't have CPA. Like, how can you do that? Well, I do that because the two other partners are CPAs and they sign off on the audit reports and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that's what I primarily do professionally. And then added to that, I also have another company, Thrudheim LLC, which is a blockchain advisory company. And what we do, we advise on enterprise adoption of blockchain and other emerging technology. And part of that company as well, I've done numerous talks for ACCA.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have spoken to audiences in probably over 45 countries in the last 6 months about emerging technologies and stuff like that. So
wow.
So as part of Thrudheim, it gives me access to do something I'm really passionate about, which is revolutionizing the future through technology.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, I do have a number of things that I do as well. One, which is I recently launched Dave Ramnarine Education in partnership with another ACCA member from the UK, where we offer ACCA courses online and CIMA courses online.
Lovely.
And then I have a couple of projects that I'm doing on the side. One of which is a little secret project that I can't really say much about yet, but it's to revolutionize the audit space. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, crazy. Gosh.
And really seeing so much inefficiencies across small and middle market firms, even large firms. And, I'm working on creating a solution that sort of deal with a number of those issues, including interacting with your local regulators or, the different groups that are interested in what you do as an assurance provider. And I don't know if you could see behind me, but there's a piano.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So I'm a musician. I wasn't trained, and I compose. So every time I get an opportunity, I like to compose. I have a very, I guess, I don't know if it's unique, but I like to take emotions and turn them into music. So I could be at the supermarket and,
you just
see
burst out.
a little, well, yeah, I do that as well. And people look at me like I'm crazy, but like I could see a happy kid like running around the supermarket, and then like I would remember that emotion a couple of days later, and then I could sit down and sort of compose something from that. So music has been a core part of who I am, and as a professional. And every opportunity I get, I try to compose something or create something or just make some magic.
Fantastic. And everyone listening now is there going, oh my, that is a lot. Yes.
Well, there's one more.
Oh gosh, go on then. Go on.
I was recently appointed as the executive vice president for an organization here, a nonprofit. It's called the National Association of Black Accountants.
Yes, I was going to mention that. Yes.
Yeah, so I've taken on that role in July and really working with them to grow and build out the work that's been done in the Miami area here, and really excited to be a part of that organization.
Oh, well, that's brilliant. Gosh. And as I'm sure, well, I hope you can see, or the viewers will be as well. If you can see my keyboard up there, look at that.
I can.
Yes. This is where I am also a completely untrained. I've never had a piano or keyboard lesson in my life. I've learned on YouTube, and my brother taught me a couple of things. And I'm currently learning to play Lewis Capaldi's "Someone You Used to Love" or used to know. But
Oh yeah.
yes, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
No, that's awesome. That's really awesome. And for me, given that I've never been trained, I like to listen to music and like
Mm.
really listen over and over, and then I would sit down and like just play, my version of it.
Well, anyone who goes on a Zoom call with you and those funky headphones, I mean, gosh, yes. Who is this pop star that we have here? But yes, who knows? We might even have a band in the future at this rate. Gosh.
You never know.
Well, if Elton John is listening to this, which I'm sure he is, we are looking for a lovely pianist, yes, as our mentor. So if Elton, if you're out there, or Reginald, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, contact details will be
Yeah.
below, so reach out to us.
If he does, gosh, that would be epic. But
It will, right?
yeah, no, who'd have thought? But you did mention as well in there your work with ACCA. Do you want to elaborate on that for anyone who is starting their ACCA journey, or maybe they've been qualified and they've done maybe 20, 30 years? How long have you been a member for as well?
Oh, I have been a member for 16, 17 years, around there.
Wow,
And I finished my exam at a young age. I was like 21 when I wrote my final set of exams, and
nice,
I was working at PwC, since I was legal age to work. So when I qualified, I immediately applied for membership.
nice.
Um, and I've always been an advocate
Hmm.
for ACCA because I knew as a young man the difference it actually made in my quality of life as a professional.
Yeah.
And that the content of the courses that I did back then, it was broad. It covered so many different things. I particularly love the IT paper that has been removed, but it was 3.4. I don't know if you remember it from way back when.
I'm 3 years qualified to me, so it was all the F papers and the P papers. But no, but the IT and the technology ones and relating to blockchain, I'm pretty sure are going to be well up your street, aren't they?
Yeah, so back then they had a paper dedicated towards IT and systems development and stuff like that,
Mm,
and that's where I also got the skills to be able to interact with the technology side of things.
mm.
And part of my advocacy, I went in, I became a lecturer. I lectured for many years.
All the
And
cool people are lecturers, so you find that.
I know, right? And I always say, like, when I lecture, it helped me to understand what I thought I understood even better.
Mm.
You know, and that's why I love teaching and lecturing, because it helps me to ground my level in like gaining mastery.
Oh, it's so
Um,
rewarding as well. That's the other thing,
it
you know.
is, it
Yeah.
is. So my advocacy journey began, the moment I wrote my exams, my final exams. And being here in the US, one of the things that I really wanted to do is to really have technology and accounting sort of bridge the future. And ACCA launched the Global Forum for Technology, and I'm one of the original members
All right.
of that forum, and I'm still part of that, where we get to contribute, our experience and skills in producing various reports.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, there's been a couple of reports published that I've been, a contributor to via these forums and the meeting. And what I
Lovely.
love about it is that these forums are global,
Mm.
meaning that you get to interact and share experiences with people from all over the world, members from everywhere, and you learn so much and you
Yeah.
get to make a difference with others. So I'm passionate about the work I do on the forum, and as a result, I've been speaking for ACCA, well, everywhere.
Oh, no. Oh, I know.
I was about to do a list, and I'm like, okay, let's say like,
Yeah. For
everywhere.
anyone tuning in today, Dave is one of the most proactive, if not the proactive person, the most proactive person I know out there. That you just seem to be doing something every week or every month. Yes,
Yeah.
you make me who I would consider myself as, yes, I'm involved, but if we're comparing chalk and cheese on this, I mean, it's for any football fans out there, it's Premier League versus the League Two conference here. I'm getting relegated. But yes, and also, I mean, unfortunately, due to the circumstances this year, I'm now declaring this podcast as your celebratory event, because do you have your trophy with you today, or is it in your
You know,
flat somewhere?
I do, and I have it right over here.
Well,
And
in talk us through it. Talk us through it.
so I was really excited when I got this. It wasn't something that I expected,
Show it
but
up again. Here we
yeah,
go.
sure.
What?
So I
Lovely.
don't, it has the little ACCA,
Oh
and it
yeah.
says,
Well, they spelt your name right.
yep, they did. It says Advocate of the Year for ACCA USA,
Oh
and
gosh.
I didn't really expect to get it because I wasn't doing everything I'm doing as an advocate with that in mind.
Oh,
So
you
for me,
never
when it
do.
came,
You never
right,
do.
well, so when it came, when it was announced, a couple of months ago, I was really surprised and I was excited about it. So getting this in the mail, typically you'd get it in person
Yeah,
at the AGM or the ceremony or something like that, but
yeah.
it came in the mail and I was just as excited. And it was such a great thing. I posted it on LinkedIn and it got a very huge amount of engagement on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Oh, massive.
Yeah, and well, I could give you a little backstory about this
Shoot. No, yeah, go for
award.
it. Go for it.
So it was announced at the USA AGM, back in June, and I told my parents, I told my mom, I was like, hey, I won this award. It was really great. And about a month and a half ago, she calls me up and she's like, Dave, did you get your plaque? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, when you get an award, you get like a trophy or a plaque or like, a crystal something. Where's your thing? Like, you need to go ask ACCA, where is your thing?
Oh, right.
So my
God.
mom was like, I want to see some evidence of like, I think like my mom is the auditor, right? She's like, where's the evidence of that? Where's the evidence of your award? So then, I spoke with the ACCA office here and I'm like, I'm going to ask a question. I know you do this in person, but my mom asked me to ask you, where is my trophy? And lo and behold, they sent it in the mail.
Wow. Well, for Dave's mum, who is hopefully watching now, because Dave has done lots in his career, and I'm sure you're very, very proud. But this podcast and coming on episode 2, I think this is the pinnacle. He is now just hitting new heights in his career, and it's probably all downhill from here. I mean, this is something you've never experienced before. So I mean, but yes, and on behalf of the ACCA, I would now like to give you, in terms of the usual way that people interact online, we will have a round of applause on Zoom to congratulate you, and this will be your celebration for achieving Advocate of the Year USA 2020. So well done, Dave.
Thank you.
There we go. You see, and your mum will be very proud. The only other thing on there, but whilst before we move on, is just show it up to the screen again as
Sure.
well, because you're in Miami, okay? And for anyone out there who is a CSI fan, I look at that and go, that is the murder weapon. That is it. The fingerprints, the blood stains. Horatio Kane, he's going to be
I
looking
know.
for that.
It's funny that you say that because when I got the award and I opened the box, I was like, wow, this thing is heavy. I was like, this is like a weapon. And I literally took it and I put it on my scale and it's 5 pounds. I was like, this could do some damage.
I'd be worried about dropping it. That's brilliant.
Well, I know there might be a couple of, fans of that TV series that are out there. So I definitely appreciate looking at all of those, and I binge watch a lot of it. So
Oh, I love it. It's great. Well, for anyone watching now, if you think that is a potential CSI, in fact, this could be it. You could get on an episode. I mean,
I know, right?
there are the comments below. Dave and I will look through them. Anything that you've seen today, if you think Dave could be on CSI Miami as another venture in his vast career, gosh, it'll be. I'm sure you'd find time for it. I'm sure you'd find time for it. That's oh no, that's mega. That is. I mean, it's epic how much work you do, and I certainly, even before I'd never met you before, I saw your post online. I thought, oh, I've definitely got to reach out for him. And also now it's a case of from the podcast, people know about blockchain technology, all these different areas you've talked about now. As to this is where it can be just it shouldn't always be a one-way thing where people come to you and say, oh, can you help me with this? It's a case of, well,
Yeah.
where can you collaborate on things as well? It is the main thing, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the way of the future. If it's one thing that COVID has sort of taught us, is that we're getting into a future where we gotta be collaborative, and our
Yeah.
growth there would be some sort of direct correlation between our growth as professionals and how we collaborate.
Yeah, and especially in accounting where there'll be so much more technology, artificial intelligence, blockchain, actually having those communication skills between one another around the world and developing professional relationships, that is going to go even further in the future, I feel, as well, because
Right.
you need to develop that, because who knows how your career path may cross as well. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I,
You
I
never know.
well, yeah, I know you won't like it, but we may be colleagues one day. Who knows?
I think that would be, interesting, and we'll create magic.
See, that's what my current colleagues say about me. James is very interesting.
And that could be one way or the other,
Yeah,
right? So
we'll go with good. We'll go with good.
exactly.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's okay. It's all right. But yes, now this actually, you see, my hosting skills are just going from strength to strength. But this
Good.
actually now leads us on to the round of do I agree with you? Okay, so this is again to get to know each other a bit more personally, and for viewers to get to know us a bit more as well when they connect
Sure.
with us. It's a case of I'm going to give you a question. It's not going to be specific answers, but it's just tell us what comes into your head first of all as to it.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Okay.
and again, as you can tell from people watching now, this has been rehearsed day in, day out. Yes, yes. And for anyone new to the channel as well, it is run on a strict $0 budget of a bit of paper and some squiggles. But we'll go on. Number one, Dave, on this. What's your favorite artist or bands? You're into music. Who's you go to?
Well, there's two. So first, I'll give you the top one, which is One Republic, and in
Right.
particular Ryan Tedder as an artist, the
Mhm.
lead singer. So I do love One Republic. I love the music.
Mhm.
Ryan Tedder, I love, for me, as someone who composes, I love how he plays with the notes in his voice and the range of his vocals. So, anyways, Ryan Tedder / One Republic, hands
Right.
down.
My favorite One Republic track is all the right moves. It's called.
Oh, that's one of my favorites as well.
It's such a good song, honestly. I don't know where it came. I think they had Stop and Stare, which everyone sort of heard about, and then it got
Yeah,
recommended to me from online or something on those things, and I just went, "This is so much better." Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's so many songs that I love, like All the Right Moves. Stop on Stay is incredible. Apologize,
Yeah.
and there's one that I love because it's kind of like stripped down a little bit. It's called
Mm,
Come Home,
okay.
and it's beautiful. And so yeah, so like One Republic has sort of been a go-to for me for many, 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 many years, including now.
Oh,
So
fantastic. Yeah. I,
yeah.
Well, I am a rock and roll fan. So for anyone who has watched episode one, and I'd recommend that you go and watch it. It's very insightful, and it's on the same format as well. But I'm a massive Toto fan. But then another rock and roll band I do like is do like Fleetwood Mac as well. So they're very good.
Yeah, I mean that's like legit, like Fleetwood Mac. Come
Oh,
on.
Rumors is one of the best albums out there, and I like the stories behind it where they're all falling out with each other, and then but they still go out and play to tens or hundreds of thousands of people as well. So
Yep, yep, yep.
it's but if you're having a bad day, put on Fleetwood Mac The Chain, and before you know it, woof, productivity will go up dramatically as well. So okay, so you work really hard. Okay, there's no one denying that. Okay, what do you like to spend your money on? What do you enjoy?
Oh, definitely travel.
Travel.
Put me on a plane anywhere. I am like a happy kid in a candy store every time. And I mean, I fly a lot,
Hmm.
but every time I get on the plane, for me, it's the same excitement as though I've never been on a plane. I take
Nice.
pictures. I have my favorite seat. So I would
Favorite seat?
literally, yeah, of course. I mean, I would literally not take a flight because that seat's not available. And I would book another flight because the seat is available.
Where's your favorite seat?
Okay, so it's 2F, or depend on if it's morning or evening or where the sun is going to be, it will be 2A. So, it's the perfect spot where I could get sufficient view of the wing, the engine, so that when we do a takeoff on the landing, I could video what happens outside. So I have a whole like method behind it. And if it's a wide bodied aircraft, then I want to
Yeah,
be in like 4F, so it's like the middle of the business class cabin. So it's like
right.
like I've worked it out to science.
Who knew? We've never talked about this. Gosh.
I know.
I've got some contacts up at Boeing in Washington as well, where I went around the Everett's factory a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna be hitting you up to get that contact because like anything with planes, I'm here for it.
don't worry. Don't you worry about that. I'll owe you a favor on it. We'll pop up. It's all right. But no, I went to the unveiling of the 747 Jet 2 plane when it was the first one. Yeah, I know.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yes. Yeah,
Who knew?
it's what people don't know about me. It's a case of I secretly like marketing as well. So
Huh.
I sent in a marketing and social media competition video to Boeing and Jet 2, and it was all about, tell us why you like flying, why you like planes and stuff like that. And I didn't do mine about planes or flying or anything on those lines because I famously uh, forgot my passport when I went to an airport. So thankfully, and again, this is turning into a referring to your mum podcast now. My mum went back and got my passport, and then that was one bad thing about the airport, which I mentioned in it. And I've also gone to the wrong airport as well because
Oh boy.
I just got kerfuzzled, and thankfully my mum saved me again and drove me to the other one. But I'm always one that get to the airport hours early, and I'm just sit there and I'm there ready. I'm not one of these people who turn up a minute before the flight goes. So
Yeah, I like to get to the airport, go to the lounge, have me my bubbles,
yeah,
like chill out and
yeah.
I'm there.
I remember to this day getting the phone call when I was working down in London, and lady calls me and says, "Oh, James, are you there?" Yeah, yeah, it's me. I'm just wondering, are you free to fly out to Washington next week?
Wow.
Your video, they found it quite funny. It's being shown at the headquarters of Boeing today with all the CFOs and the finance directors. They think it's great. Oh, right, okay.
Oh my God.
Amazing. Yes. And I've got no marketing background. I just thought it was funny. So yeah, that's it. And then lo and behold, I'm on a flight the next week. That was it.
Wow, that's incredible. What an incredible story.
Wow. You see, but it's just putting yourself out your comfort zone, trying things that are new. That's all it is. Yes. That's
That's where life happens, outside
yeah.
the comfort zone.
Yeah, but when you get to, it's that flick of the switch as to when you're not worried about what other people think. That's the other thing in terms of it. Lots of people get worried, especially in the social media age. But I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but I'm a bit past that now. So
Yeah, no. I think at a very, very young age, the way we grew up on my parents' farm, you know, a lot of what we learned was about your worth comes from here, it doesn't come from outside.
yeah,
So irrespective of what anybody had to say, I'm like, okay, great. Like you're not paying my bills, you're not putting food on my table. Okay, bye.
it's brutal, but that's a very good mindset on that, actually. Gosh, no, I rate that. Gosh, but we're going to come on to traveling on to the next one because obviously you're in the US now, you're working out there. There'll be people watching this from around the US, but what I'm interested in, and slightly controversial, but what is your favorite state that you've been to go visit?
Well, my favorite state to visit that I have visited would be Hawaii.
Oh wow.
It is magical.
Mm.
And in particular, there's one of the smaller islands called, if I pronounce it correct, Kauai, um, which is magical. It's almost as though you're in Lord of the Rings.
Oh right.
And the trees are big, the mountains, it's untouched. Like, you go hiking and it's
Mm.
incredible. So for me, definitely Hawaii. Now, with that said, New York City is New York City, and
Indeed. Oh,
I've lived in the heart of Manhattan in Midtown in Hell's Kitchen, um, and it definitely is now one of the places that I'll move back to in a heartbeat.
mm.
I do love living in Miami. I love the weather. I love not dealing with snow and winter and all of that stuff. I'll go visit during that time, but New York is a special place,
Oh yeah.
and who knows? Maybe I'll end up getting an apartment or something that I could show up whenever at some point.
well, no, my two are New York. I was like Stuart Little when I was wandering around there because I'm from a little village of where there are more animals and cows than people. They're going, oh wow. And North Carolina, so I did my summer
Oh
placement
wow,
out there.
North Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful forests up there as well, where I worked. But
Huh.
yes, but
I
that's from my experience anyway. So, but South Carolina
Yeah.
is also very nice. It's down there.
Yeah, I've driven through both of those states when I was moving from New York to Florida,
Hmm.
and stopped and like explore the countryside a little bit. But hmm, I don't know North Carolina that well, but that's great.
Yeah,
Now I'm like, okay, I got to book a trip and go check it
yeah.
out.
Oh, Charlotte and Hendersonville, give or take where we stayed. But I can put you in touch with my old employers because they're very community based as well. So and they own the whole mountain as well. And the pinnacle up at the top, the beautiful views of the whole mountain range. So yeah.
Okay, I'm game because I'm all about that outdoors and like mountains and like,
It's all right. We'll get you to audit their accounts whilst we're there. That'll be all right.
yes.
That'll be the bargaining tool. That'll be it. But it does nicely lead on to there are some different animals, should we say, in the US. But what's your favourite animal for anyone who's out there who's we had cats and dogs on Ronnie's one last time, but we'll go broader now. What's your favourite animal that maybe you quite like?
Huh. Well, this is not an animal that's native to the US, but I've seen
Right,
it most in the US, and
right.
um, it is out in California. The llamas, and
All
like I
right.
say, it's not native to the US, but I think they're adorable. And when I went to Argentina, um, driving through the mountains, you would
Mm,
see the llamas like running around wild, and it was so fascinating. But
mm.
anyways, outside of dogs, because I don't really have an affinity with cats, but dogs I love, any kind of dogs I love, and the llamas was something that attracted me because it was the first time I ever seen a llama, and
Oh,
I was
right.
like,
Yeah.
but
Llamas are one of those in recent years they've really come to light, haven't they? Where and meerkats as well.
You know, Meerkat have a special place in my heart because, oh my gosh, what's a TV show that Lion King? Yes, with Lion King and Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, we're going to attract a Disney audience now talking about this. We're just covering all bases. Yes, yes, I know. And there might be the odd person out there going, "Can you not talk about an IAS standard, please? That'll be it."
Yeah, about that.
That's Monday to Friday, unfortunately. But
And
talk,
thankfully it's Sunday.
indeed, yes, yes. We'll get that out there for all the viewers as well. But the final one as to obviously you're really into your music as well. Incredibly busy guy, but any other hobby that you're particularly into as well?
Um, yeah, well, so music, I particularly like running.
Hmm.
So, you know, during this pandemic, I think I had the opportunity to sort of build up my body back to when I was a teenager and used to do track and field.
Yeah.
So I started running a lot more. Outside of that, writing is something that I've
Oh, cool.
discovered that I really like. I do love reading.
Hmm.
Um, and during this pandemic, it created a very unique opportunity to read a lot more. So I up to we've been in quarantine for 6 months, and I 14 books now in the last
Wow.
6 months.
Good.
So writing is something that I've discovered I like because I've started writing my book on leadership and performance, and
Nice.
in working with my editor, you know, I've realized that whilst there are some things that I'm not good at
Hmm.
writing, I do love writing.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm not good at it, and I love it. You
Yeah.
know, so for me, I've discovered that. So I've published a number of articles, and whilst I'm writing the book, I've been, you know, publishing some of those. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm excited about that.
Oh, no, the thing that one of my mentors said is a case of when he was writing his first book, the best bit of advice he said for anyone getting into writing a book is just you've got to allocate time and stick to it as well. That's it.
Yeah,
So if you give yourself an hour or two on a particular morning when you're working best, then that
yeah,
is how you have to do it, because otherwise time drifts by and ideas float
yeah.
away and all these sort of things. So
And you know what? Like discovering being creative in the process, because sometimes I might not have time in my calendar to write,
yeah.
but then I have thoughts about what I want to write. So whilst I'm running, I'll just
Mm,
record, you know, what I want to put down.
yeah.
So then all of the thoughts have been captured. And
Mm.
when I'm ready to write, I just play it on my beautiful headphones and just, you know, transcribe.
Oh, so underrated. Lots of people see exercise as a, oh, I might do it this day, I might do it that day. Whereas I read pieces from, you've got marathon runners to people who are just high performance individuals, and it's a case of exercise is an absolute must every day, whether that's going for a walk and listening to a podcast, or actually going out for a run or a swim or gym or whatever you do. But every day they must do 45 minutes or an hour or something on those lines, and it's that
Right.
is it, that is the standard. So
Yeah, I mean, and you take care of your health and well-being mentally
mm,
and physically when you do that as
yeah.
well.
Oh, best thing after a long day, go out for a little walk, bit of a jog or something like those lines. You come back, you revitalized, bit of fresh air in you. That's it.
Definitely.
Oh wow, that's all right. But we're going to have to go on to the final serious bit of the podcast now. This is it. We've got to talk about your experience and your insights as well.
Sure.
So for people watching, why would you recommend for someone to get into advocacy, for example? What are the benefits for them? Say if they're just out there, they've maybe just finished their ACCA, or maybe they're 10, 15 years in and they've got all this knowledge that they want to share. I mean,
Right.
why should they get involved, would you say?
Well, I'll share about that in this way, which is for me, one of the things that I got connected to at a very young age, I was a teenager still, was that what I'm passionate about and like why I do what I do is to empower, inspire, and leave myself and others with clarity to
Mm,
win whatever games you're up to. And that is the underlying theme or commitment in everything I do.
mm-hmm.
Empower, inspire, clarity, like those three things. And you'd see it a lot of my posts. Like I always put those hashtags, on my posts, right? Because it's like the core of who I am, and what I am about in the world. Where
That clear
advocacy,
auditor.
yes, clarity. And for me, like my advice to people to get into advocacy would be that it have you be about something that's bigger than yourself. And what I find is when you create games in life that are bigger than yourself, you grow and you expand and you develop, and people around you, not only you benefit from that, but your people in your community, your family, your friends, the people in your street or village or compound or whatever, right? Like they all get to benefit from you elevating yourself. So for me, advocacy is an access to creating a life that's bigger than you.
Oh, yeah.
And that fulfills a number of things for you, not just, emotionally, but where intelligence is concerned, being a contribution to others. So you get fulfilled in that. And on a personal note for me, one of the things that was sort of handed down to me from my grandparents and my parents was that when you are blessed with knowledge, however that come, whether it's school or someone else teaching you or a mentor, like the thing I was left with is that knowledge is not owned by anyone. And when you are blessed to have interacted with knowledge, you have a responsibility to share that.
Yes.
So for me, like I always look at it, anything that I learn, anything that I've come across as a professional and even my personal life, I have a responsibility to share that. And that drives my advocacy. That drives, the book that I'm writing. My book is on quantum leadership.
Yeah.
And a model that I created called the Wheel of Workability. What's driving that is that I don't own this knowledge. I have a responsibility to share that with others.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
Advocacy is an access to that.
Oh, I completely agree. And anyone who's watched any of my other videos on the YouTube channel, the first video, I must say, is hilarious of me with all my ACCA books back there and stuff on those lines. But it's all my experience of just going through the books and how I best studied. And I had these books and I lugged them I moved house twice and I kept on putting it off. And then I just went, right, we are starting right now. Okay. And we're going to do this and you're going to record it and you're going to put it online. And honestly, the scope of people out there who have benefited from it, it's epic, really. So I would say to anyone out there, if you've got advocacy in mind or whatever goal you're actually looking to achieve or whatever you've had in your mind, just go for it. And honestly, it really, what's the worst that could happen in terms of it?
And you'll discover so much because you never know who you connect with. You never know where you have an opportunity to make a difference with someone, and that difference you make with them, they might impact hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people, and you might never know. Right? But like, you get the opportunity to put that out in the universe,
Yes. Oh, and there forever. And for anyone interested, I will put the links in the bottom. But also, for anyone who's not met me before, I had really long hair then as well. Have you ever seen me with long hair, Dave, or not?
Yes, I've seen a photo.
Do you prefer it long or short? I'm not sure.
Well, I think there's something unique about long hair that I could appreciate, given that I don't have any. But so with someone like you who could have long hair, I'm like, go for it, because you know what, it's awesome. Because I used to, one of the things I really loved was my hair, and then when it fell out, I was like, damn it, it's gone.
That wasn't a case of being an auditor, was it? Or
well, that was a case of well, when I lost my hair, I was about 20 years old, 2021.
Right.
And it was a result of a number of things, including what at the time they called chemical poisoning, and my hair fell out. Okay. But once it fell out for me, I was like, damn it, I lost my hair. I loved my hair because I had thick, like, my grandmother and, had like this thick, wavy, black, brown sort of hair. And that was my hair.
Oh.
And, I lost it, and then I was like, damn it. So I used to wear a toupee for a while, and then I got rid of the toupee.
Well, I'm not one for any of these dodgy styles or anything like that, but you know, time having to book in a haircut as well. That is time. Yeah, but I always love going to the hairdressers when I've got long hair and I get it cut short, because it gives the hairdresser a complete heart attack in terms of what are we doing here? So
Right. Well, you might want to think about growing it out, because if Elton John reaches out and decides to book us, then,
wow.
I think the long hair would probably give a little more of a artsy sort of a vibe.
Well, yeah, if Elton's watching now, then he's more than welcome to recommend. But I do realise he's had a few hairstyles over the years, so I don't know. We'll see what he says. We'll see what he says. But and we've got to talk about, because you're someone I really want to have a chat about. This is really important for people listening. Is about managing your time. Okay, so I'll put the ball in your court on this one. Talk us through how you manage your time.
Sure. So, one of the things that I talk about where time management is concerned is really, anytime I'm training folks that I work with, for example, it's always that let's get rid of that concept of time management, because it's an illusion. We can't manage time. Like, we could be right here right now, and time will do what time does.
Ticking
It
by.
goes.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there's nothing we could do about it. There's zero. We have zero control over time. So therefore, how can we actually manage time? We can't. What we can do is manage and prioritize tasks. So I like to take myself in the mode of task management versus time management.
Okay.
And one of the profound ways that show up in my life is my calendar.
Okay.
And everything, I mean, every single thing goes into my calendar. If I have to have coffee with a friend, it is in my calendar.
Yep.
If it is a friend says, oh, we should hang out, and it's somebody that I do want to hang out with, I would look at my calendar and actually say, well, can you hang out on October 15th at 4:30 p.m.? I will be in New York City. I have a flight to catch at 9 p.m. So we can hang out for 3 hours. Can you do that? And like that for me creates workability in getting a lot more done.
Yeah.
And what I discovered when I started doing that a few years ago was that I had so much wasted, like, periods in my day. And it's predominantly because there wasn't an outcome scheduled.
So in other words, actually saying to yourself, why am I doing this?
Yeah. And knowing, like, okay, so by, today, like, what's on the list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it has to get done in this order because someone's depending on it, or clients depending on it, or staff members. Like, once I go through that, then I have managed my tasks in a way that have me have integrity with the things I committed to.
Yeah.
Wow. And so for me, like, time management is one of those conversations that I like to have at the very start of working with someone new as well, and saying, okay, let's talk about time management, and let's kind of throw that out the window.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's actually important, which is the tasks that you get completed.
Yeah.
And how you get those completed. And it's a very different conversation, because suddenly the pressure around managing time disappears.
Yeah. We got to say what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you find people are more productive. It's easier to communicate because they know they're about the task, not about the time, right? Now, it's a different school of thought and a different way of interacting with things. And it's one that I've found to be very empowering, and one that have people actually be more productive.
Yes. Oh, well, that is the end all of it. I've read a few bits online about this, about writing down what your actual schedule is for the next day, or putting it in your work calendar. And the quote that really hit home with me is, it's so that you have the day that you want to have as well. That's it. So at the end of the day, you look back at it and say, massively productive.
I love what you just said. You create the day that you want to have, right? Paraphrasing. And one of the things that brings to mind is what I talk about in my book as accountability. And when I talk about accountability, it means like carving out the way the future looks.
Yeah.
And when you do exactly what you just point to, you're actively being the artist of the future. You're carving out exactly how you want it to look, not waiting to see what happened, not letting it, well, oh, I'll see what happens tomorrow. No, like you're saying, you know what? I have my what that thing called, a chisel, where you kind of like create
hammer and chisel, isn't it?
Yes. So you're like, I got my hammer and chisel, and I'm gonna create how my David looks.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this is what gets me. We've both been ACCA students in the past, and I always used to write down a schedule, and I had to do say financial reporting in the morning, then audit in the afternoon, and I'd break down past paper question, then something a bit more interactive, and I'd have a schedule, and then I'd know what time I'd finish and eating and etc. But then I speak to some students, and they say, "Oh, I just wake up and I'll just go and do some studying." And with no actual concept as to, well, when am I actually most productive, when I've got the most amount of energy. So that should be when you're reading the core text or past papers, when you've got the most amount of energy. And then what you're actually doing in your day, so that you actually have those 6 or 7 hours. And the other thing that gets me as well is when students go to the library together, and it's on the chatty floor, because I used to go on the quiet floor. Quiet floor's the best. and they'll go in there and say, "Oh, James has spent 8 hours in the library today." So I posed the question back of, well, were they 8 positive and productive hours?
Right.
Or were you just sort of sat in there chatting away about, are you off to Pizza Hut or something? I don't know.
Yeah, and like for me, to kind of talk about productivity and how I do what I do, like my day starts at around 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So I wake up at that time, and I have my routine that I go through, self-care and everything else. And by the time it's 8 o'clock, I would have gotten 3 hours of productive time in already. Yeah. And for me, like, that makes a massive difference in the quality of my day. And what that means is that when it's like 9 p.m., I want to go to bed.
Yeah. Oh, but I bet people listening to this and watching away are going to say that's crazy.
Yeah, because in the US, like, people don't wake up that time. And for me, I think it's a bit of my farm boy days, when I had to wake up and milk the cows and, take care of the different responsibilities on the farm before I go to school.
Yeah, it needs must.
Yeah, so I think it's sort of built in from then. And also my grandma used to say, and I think I shared this with you previously, is that never let the sun meet you in your bed. Nice. Like, you must be awake to greet daylight. And for me, it's like, I love that. And you could see, like, I have no curtains. I see straight out. So I see the sunrise every morning. Like, every morning I'm here. One of the things I enjoy is to have a couple of moments of just like having my cup of tea and just looking at that sunrise coming up. It's magical.
Oh, you might have done this. You sound like the type that maybe has done. But do you actually meditate or do anything on those lines in the morning?
Yeah, of course. And for me, meditation is not just like a start to my day. And it's not like I sit down and say, oh, I got to do this to meditate. Like, I have a very different relationship to meditation. Like, for me, in a split second, I could like go into that space in my brain, in the universe, where I could just like really be connected to everything around me and get grounded and come back to what I'm doing. So I do that throughout the entire day. I start my day with it, where I get grounded in what I'm grateful for. Before like, one of my practices that I don't even look at my phone. I wake up, like, physically I wake up, and then I like to call this my second waking up, which is where I just get to ground myself in the fact that I woke up, that my limbs are working, the fact that I could see, like, I could hear, like, I could taste, because I know that I need to brush my teeth, right? And it's like, there's so much to be grateful for, that I like to ground myself in that. Completely, and that's right. My form of what someone would probably call meditation. And throughout the day, I get to do that. So the moment my day gets like busy, or like there's something controversial, or you face some sort of conflict, like, instantaneously I could just like take a moment, boom, like go into that zone where I could go and create magic, and like a magician come out with like my like fairy dust.
Or pixie dust, I think is the other term for it. But no, well, that actually nicely leads on to as to, well, 2020 has been an unexpected year, shall we say? But
Yeah.
what would you say for anyone watching or listening into this now? What's been the main thing you've learned about yourself this year, or what have what's changed? Would you say, or what would you recommend for people to maybe try?
So I guess this is also, serious and funny at the same time, because one of the things that I discovered about myself during this pandemic is that left up to my own like way of doing things, I would eat myself into like, another Dave
There'll
Ramnarine.
be two Daves.
Yes, like seriously. I in the first like 4 weeks of being in lockdown, I cooked every kind of dessert that I wanted to like try out, from my Trinidadian desserts. I cooked different things, and I was just eating so much delicious food, and I was cooking all of it. And then I realized, like, okay, this is not sustainable. Like, I gotta create some type of other habits.
Yeah.
And I intentionally took on exercising and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, about 21 days after that, I published an article about habits.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out from that experience. So that's one of the things that I realized, that I tacked on to very early during the pandemic, and realized that, okay, I got to discover self-control in the realm of eating.
Yeah, and
And
discipline.
yeah, and for me, it was a little bit of an adventure, because I mean, I could cook really good because my
Mm-hmm.
mom and my sisters taught me how to cook on the farm.
Yeah.
And when I go in the kitchen, it's like, I want to cook everything,
Yeah.
So I had to really discover that. The other thing was that, in a very strange way, this whole COVID situation had me get so much more accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
Same for me. Yeah.
my book, initially I thought the first draft was going to be done at the end of the year. My first draft was done in August,
Wow.
and I'm in the process of editing now. But this whole process has just kind of shown me that there's so much more I could do with the available periods of time in my
Yeah.
day. And I've since, done so many other things, including so much, work I've done in terms of my speaking engagements around for ACCA and stuff like that. So during this pandemic, what I've discovered is that there is a world of productivity out there
Mm.
that I am yet to discover. As
That,
productive as I think that
oh,
I am,
what a
I've
statement that is. Again, for anyone listening, and including myself, I'm there going, yeah, he has got a lot on his plate and still saying there is, well, as I always say myself with running or work or whatever, there is still more in the tank. That's it. So,
yeah, and like a lot of times, people say, well, how do you get it all done? And I said, well, it's all about, for me, being willing to look at what I've accomplished as ordinary.
mm,
Meaning, what would extraordinary look like? If I were to consider that what I have accomplished is ordinary,
yeah.
what would it be to discover extraordinary in my
Mm,
realm?
yeah.
And like that continuous willingness to discover over and over and over on a daily basis, it have you create a life that has so much alacrity with it.
Mm,
And it, for me, my own way of describing that is like living life out on the skinny branches. I'm not holding
okay.
on to the tree trunk.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like let's go out on that branch and like kind of feel the wind. And it's like it's so exciting out there. Like for me, that's how I want to continue living life.
Oh, even just trying new things or anything on those
Yeah.
lines. So for me, the main thing with lockdown is more books and more information, and even online, you can watch Google Talks, and they've got in
Mhm.
mega speakers. I'm watching a chap called Dan Pink at the moment. Highly recommend you to check him out. So I'll put it down as a little note from this as well. But he's got some great ideas about how to structure a team, leadership, and
Yeah.
and just flipping ideas and saying this is what people think, this is what I think, and then this is just the rest. It just opens up so many different avenues for you to consider as well. Really insightful stuff as well. So
Yeah, I mean, the world of possibilities start opening when you start, engaging with things outside of your realm of knowledge, right? And I like you're pointing to, like you're listening to these talks or reading, and suddenly you get new ideas, you see things differently, you have a different perspective,
well, you got to actually get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the main thing
Oh
in
yeah.
terms of it as well. So that is fundamental, I would say. Anyone watching this, that you will have people watching will have one thing on their mind in terms of stuff. They go, oh, I really wanted to do this. I thought about trying this. Just from watching this, write it down, put it in your phone, put it in your calendar that hour or two, and just say that is it. I've got to go do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's funny you say that, because that's one of the things I say to people all the time, especially clients that I coach, in coming out of my book, right? I do have clients that I work with, and one of the things that I always say, like one of the rules is like you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And
oh, you see, I'm just giving out advice for free. This is where I'm going wrong, Dave.
well, look, the whole point about giving out the advice is that people then come back and say, hey, like, help me gain mastery in doing this.
Well, Gucci, they get in contact with me and they go, look at this stylish guy, it's just a list. My phone's just, it's ringing constantly. Obviously, that's not Gucci. It's probably my mum ringing me about something. But but coming on to just that, one of the final points now in terms of if there's, well, it depends on different people classify young in different terms now, but say if we have someone out there who's interested in blockchain or getting into technology and accountancy, what will be your bits of advice, would you say, going forward and from your experience?
Yeah, so my advice around that is a consistent piece of advice I give everybody, which is to be curiously engaged with everything, okay? And in specific with technology, like technology is going to revolutionize even more our profession in the upcoming years.
Yeah.
And as accountants and auditors and compliance personnel, we want to be interested, we want to be curious about what's happening in the space. And part of the way to fulfill that curiosity is by upskilling, learning, reading. And in particular, read the professional insight reports coming out of ACCA. Do the certificates that they have, like the digital innovation, whatever else they have available. It's easy ways to have you get grounded in what technology is out there, and also have you learn the basics about the technology.
Yeah.
Also, get onto some of the webinars that I've done about blockchain, for example, and you'll get some knowledge about what it is. Now, the other part is reading. And a lot of people I know, one of the very first key lessons I learned as a professional when I was working at PricewaterhouseCoopers as a trainee is that like my ultimate boss at the time, he said to me, like, if I want to be the best at what I do, I have to read every single day.
Yeah.
And that has proven to be a core part of myself, growing up in my career, was reading. So in the blockchain space, I'll say the same thing. In the emerging technology, there are books that you could get out there, in particular two that I really like. One is called Blockchain Revolution, and the other one is called the Truth Machine. And if you just Google that, you could find the books on Amazon or whatever.
Yeah. Oh no, people go for it because you know your stuff on these things. That's why. So
yeah, and like, am I an expert on blockchain? No, and I understand how it works. So when I understand how the technology works, I could create anything with it. Utilizing subject matter experts. So like, I'll have a developer or programmer or somebody who actually knows the tech side, and then me bringing my accounting, audit, compliance, system knowledge to all of what the technology person knows. There's nothing we can't create.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, Dev, as well, I think you're going into pop song mode, because when you talk slightly, it goes whoop, 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 whoop.
Oh.
That's all right. I think. All right, talk to me again. Say blockchain.
Blockchain.
Oh no, we're back. There we go.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. We're back. We're back on there. Well, no, that's just for anyone who's there. But the only other final bit to talk about is if you've got any advice for anyone who's maybe currently at a big four company like PwC, EY, Deloitte, KPMG, what advice would you give to someone maybe wanting to go work there or currently working there? What would be your best bits of advice there, would you say?
So, first of all, my first piece of advice to any auditor and accountant or someone who wants to really get into the audit profession, for example, I would always say, look at the big four firm. It's difficult. Yes, there's long hours. There's all of the things that go with it. And what you do get access to is a level of training that you might not easily have access to elsewhere.
Mm.
And one thing that the Big Four has done is that they've gotten a level of mastery in making training available.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I appreciated growing up in my professional career within a Big Four environment was that I had access to so much knowledge, so much information. The other thing is that if you are currently in those environments, one piece of advice that I want to give to anyone working for a Big Four currently is you got to be a demand for how you make progress within that firm. Mm-hmm. Don't just sit down and say, oh, well, you know what, in 2 years I'll get promoted because like that's the process. No, I wasn't about that kind of life. I wanted to know, well, tell me what needs to get accomplished. Yeah. And then you say take 2 years, I want to do it in 9 months.
Yeah.
Right. And then I actively go and I tell people what I want. Right. I was like, if I like in my early career, I didn't do taxes, for example, in the audit. And I go to the partner and I'm like, hey, like when the director is doing taxes this year, can I shadow him? Mm-hmm. And the first thing was like, oh, you're a trainee. Like, why would you want to do that? I'm like, well, I really want to learn. And guess who was doing the taxes the next year? Me. Right. Because I was a demand. I was a demand for the way I want my career to go. And what that did is really have me take accountability to carve out my future and how that looked. So for anybody in the Big Four space, you want to actually grab that and say, you know what, I got it. Like HR said, this is how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Yes, here's how I say it's going to go. But you got to create the partnership for that. You got to create the connection for that. You got to be willing to walk into the partner's office and say, hey, like, I want to talk about my progression. Like, I got, this is what you say, and here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to bring to the table. Right?
Yeah, couldn't agree more in terms of, and just putting yourself out there as well. And plus, just to add to that as well, little bits on the side that's absolutely spot on, doing stuff in terms of when you're actually in the firm, networking with them in there. But like we're saying, and the point of the podcast is connect with them on LinkedIn. And you and I know from messaging each other back, and whether it's weekends, Saturdays, evenings in the week, message them, show that you're productive on the site and being proactive, because they will see it. They will see it. And all these little things, just a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. And it'll just nudge you even further.
And don't just connect and follow through.
Yeah. And add value into it as well, as to, can you share something? I've got into the habit of now, well, if I read something that's interesting, and then I think, well, can I name 3 to 5 people who I can send that to? Nice, short and sweet message, and say, I think this will really help you. Give it a whirl, and it'll add value to you. And you get lovely messages back, and it's fantastic. And it's just another way just to keep in touch as well, because who knows how these things will pan out as well in the future. So.
You never know. And it's the value of, connecting with people. The power of connection is an access to create a different future.
Yeah. Oh, completely agree in terms of it. But it's like you've actually been on a podcast before, Deb, because it's you've now, well, we've come on to the end now. Where has the time gone? As ever,
I know.
We've talked about Elton John. We've talked about blockchain, but we're now coming on to the future. And as the podcast goes. And as I said on the first one, Netflix are going to be on the phone to me. James, we're going to have to put pen to paper. We're going global on this. Wow. Would you like to announce to the viewers as to what is coming up later on in the year for the future for you and ACCA?
Sure. So one exciting thing is that I throwing my hat in the ring to run for ACCA's Global Council this year. And it's a big game to play, and it's part of me expanding the way that I contribute to the profession. So I'm really, really excited to be running this year. And for everyone that's listening in, everyone that is a part of this conversation, I will definitely request that you check out the link to the voting page for ACCA, and vote for me.
Oh, well, I must say, and this is me being honest as a full member for 3 years now. Yeah, Dave, you are one of the most proactive people I know, and you do so much advocacy work with ACCA, and it doesn't matter if I have a small question or just things like today with the podcast and all these other various things that we've talked about today. You're just so proactive on it, and you add so much value to the professional body. And I think this next step as well, so much more inclusiveness, and I think we'll actually reach out to so many more people as well. So yeah, I can only wish you all the best as well from it. And I don't know if I'm allowed to declare who I'll be voting for, but but viewers, I'm sure you'll make up your mind.
Well, look, at the end of the day, it is always an honor to be in service to the profession globally. And, for me, this was just like the natural next step in that direction. And, making a difference, it's a core part of who I am. And I'm excited to be on this journey.
Oh, it sounds awesome. And I'm sure having the USA Advocate of the Year on the boards is only going to benefit, I can say, in terms of plus the amount of stuff that you do as well. I mean, my arm just isn't long enough to actually write down everything that you do. So yes, but unfortunately, we're going to be drawing to a close in a second. Is there any sort of final words of Dave? That could be your new hashtag moving forward, words of wisdom of Dave or something.
Well, a couple of things. One, like I mentioned before, stay curiously engaged and really take that to heart. The other thing is a statement that, I made in my book, and one of my quotes is that in birthing a new reality, dancing with chaos is necessary.
Wow. And
when you really think about that, if you're creating a new reality, dancing with chaos is necessary. And I'm not talking about fighting with chaos. I'm talking about dancing with it, right? Because it's inevitable, right? And I kind of, that's my farm boy days, having cows, they get pregnant, you see everything that they go through, and and the same thing goes.
Well?
It is. Yeah. And just seeing that in creating a new reality there and expanding, there is a natural type of chaos that comes with it. And in us expanding our lives and growing, we have to create an open mind and really maintain a state of adventure and discovery that have us dance with chaos however it show up, And we might be prepared to salsa, and then suddenly the music changed to bachata or to hip hop, and then you gotta change the dance to go with it, right? So it's like that, and it's so much fun. But that's what I would probably like to leave people with. In birthing a new reality, dancing with chaos is necessary.
I might have to steal that and just say, today I'm going to be dancing with chaos rather than imploding by chaos, or something like that. Something like that. I'll put you in the reference list. But
good.
I must say it has been an absolute delight and joy in terms of this. And as I said, you've had many career heights, and I'm sure there are very more to come. But I'm going to put this on record as saying, coming on the podcast, the second episode, it's definitely the pinnacle. I'll have to scribble on a piece of paper as a little certificate to send to your mum or something. She'll be very proud. She'll be very proud. But now the final thing as well, because you've come on the podcast today, it's been a delight. It's been a joy. For anyone who knows and they've watched the first one, every person who comes on the podcast, I plant a tree for them as well. So here is your acorn, Dave, on here. Now, if I put it up to the camera, now I believe this is a perfectly ripe acorn, but if it doesn't work, I'll plant two just to be safe. But for everyone who comes on the podcast, I always plant a tree for them, and who knows, my garden is very small, and we may have to expand because there's going to be a forest in there. We'll see how it goes, but
awesome.
That's going to be there for you as well. And who knows, when I'm next over in America, I'll bring you a tree. I'll bring this oak tree, and I'll have to book it in your favorite seat on the plane. So
sure, definitely. And look, this was such an honor to be on with you today, James. And I'm grateful to be here, have this conversation with you. Thank you for being generous with your time and for playing a game that's bigger than you.
God, this must be scripted. All of our viewers, they've definitely worked on this. That was not on the script. Well, everyone, if you're listening on Spotify now, you're tuning in on YouTube, again, I must say a massive thank you to Dave. All of the insights today, honestly, there's going to be so many points on the review that I'm going to have to type up on this. But I must say it's been absolutely fantastic. If you've enjoyed today's podcast as well, give it a thumbs up. Write any comments at the bottom. Dave and I will look through them and we'll answer them as well if you've got any other questions as well. And feel free to subscribe so that you can go and have a look at the previous ones. And there'll be many more to come. I mean, it's David Beckham. He could be on the podcast.
You never know.
Yes. Well, who else can we have? Angelina, she might come on it. I don't know. Who else is famous in America? Serena Williams, she might come on it. We'll see. But and Elton. We need Elton on it.
We can't forget Elton.
Indeed. Well, anyway, I hope everyone's enjoyed today. Massive thanks again, Dave, as well. Thank you very much. But as always, on that bombshell, everyone, we will see you next time. Thank you very much, and cheers, Dave. Thank you.